What made you want to get into the music industry?
Great question. I think it was just kind of developed through my passion for music. I mean, I think it's a pretty standard answer for anyone that you ask about getting into the music industry, but I think the passion is so much so that I really just want to dedicate my life to it.
Well, I started playing drums when I was 14, so throughout high school I kind of got into music, played with bands, doing shows, and then I got on the management side of things with my most recent band.
You don't get into music for money, you get into it because you love music, and so for the longest time, I was living out in a backpack and sleeping on people's couches and floors for probably a year and a half.
Wow.
Before finally I was like, okay, I'm doing it 2 days a week, and it's 3 days a week, and it's 4 days a week. And I was commuting from San Diego to Hollywood and then riding my bike everywhere, and it's, like I said, crashing everywhere I could.
That's adversity, right?
Yeah,
That's
so
like
I think and I think that also helped me, learn a lot and get through a lot of things and what I'm willing to do, go through.
what you're willing to do to make
Just to make it happen.
I was working with my own band to start kind of branching out and helping other bands. And you deal with so many different people in the music industry, and you're making so many connections that it felt like the natural progression of what I was
Been
doing.
around music management my whole life. My uncle was Rod Stewart, Prince, Michael Jackson's manager when I was really young. So I actually never really wanted to go into music, but then when I was in college, I started interning for his label, and then started working with Sublime through his label, and that kind of sparked my interest more. Than when I moved to San Diego to go to college, I just started working with Slightly Stupid just because I liked them. They're like 16, 17-year-old kids who are the same punk band that Sublime had discovered, or Bradley from Sublime before he passed discovered. And I just started helping them out, just being waiting tables or parking cars at the time. And it just kind of started like that.
So you're just like hooking them up with like little gigs and jobs?
I was originally, so Sublime had a record label, Skunk Records, and I really started helping. Originally, I helped Miguel with Skunk Records, who was Brad's partner on Skunk Records, and they had just signed Slightly Stupid, and I was moving to San Diego, so I just kind of started really by taking CDs. Back then, record stores existed. There was no iTunes, and the internet wasn't. This was like probably 1996. And just taking records in the stores and trying to get records and posters and promote the album in the stores. It was all like independent the record business was huge then. It wasn't iTunes, it wasn't anything like that. And then from there I started booking them gigs and doing the marketing stuff with them, and then a few years later they'd asked me to manage them. That's how I started, was through Skunk Records.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
There's sort of an element of authenticity that comes with, being in the, not underground necessarily, but,
Independent.
Right, yeah, independent.
Definitely independent.
Yeah.
Working with independent music is more of the freedom that comes with that. We have to be constricted to doing things a certain way, or your music has to sound like this to fit into a mold, or you have to be focusing on your image so much, and what we focus on is music and developing artists as a musical talent to have their career and perform their whole life, not like let's get this hit out and make a bunch of money and then move on to the next one, like I think what we do at Silverback and me as a manager, like want the artist to have a career and a life playing music and playing music they want to play and making music they want to make. So it's not a thing of conforming to something to have a career, or let's change this to make sure we're fitting the mold that exists right now in music. So the independent side for me is that freedom that comes with what you do.
What do you look for?
Most of the time, the way the music, like first off, like as a music fan, and it's like I don't like to take on projects where it's just like, yeah, here's 3 months, we'll give you X amount of dollars, even if I don't believe in the project, or if like just for the sake of taking the project on, you know, because there's only so much, you know, brain bandwidth or man hours that you can actually dedicate to a project. So I'm very particular about
What content?
Yeah.
Just making sure that they're good, so
And
you're not trying to push shit, you know. So
and if they're willing, you know, like, are they already doing it themselves? Like, I don't like to start like from ground zero and just be like, you should start a Twitter account, or you should do Instagram. Like, it's like I want to work with bands who are already like taking the initiative themselves, and they're that.
They've got a website. They've got a website.
They're doing it themselves. They're doing it themselves. It's just they need more focus and direction. And in that respect, like I know that they're going to be willing to think outside the box and try different things.
Well, nowadays you really look. I mean, first things first is always the music. So if the music gravitates towards you, that's, you know, is going to be the first thing. But nowadays you have all these analytics that you can, even on developmental bands, you can see how many Facebook friends they have, you can see how many downloads they have, how many YouTube videos they have. So for us, it's like, I really come up with that, like, I really think that there's certain things a manager could do for a band, but if there's bands out there starting and they've been around for a couple of years and can't generate some things on their own, then you can't really do anything for that band either. So we really look for something to be going on, you know, with the band. And it doesn't necessarily have to be like have a YouTube video with 1 million hits or have 100,000 Facebook friends, but just something's got to be clicking where you see that, hey, this band's got something going on and we can take it to the next level.
Awesome.
Definitely the passion. I think that's kind of the underlying theme of the industry is the passion. Strong, obviously, musical talent. I think stage presence is huge.
And teach me how to cookie stop, and I could be a cookie too. Do 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 do.
What would you look for in an artist? As, you know, someone starting out yourself, what would you look for as someone else starting out, trying to...
Well, yeah, I think the main things to look for are like basically the face of the performer. Like, what do they do to like promote themselves? How well do they work with others? Like, as far as chemistry and music, like, are they a good people person? You know, basically, can they sell themselves as not only a musician but like as a
solid person.
Friend, yeah.
Where would you start if you had a band? Would you have them record an album or just do a lot of live shows? So I'm going to guess that you'd say do a lot of live shows.
Yeah.
Because that's like where you get your ball rolling, really.
Right. I mean, you know, doing tours also can support an album. So, I mean, ultimately you need some other sort of income besides just touring. So it might be a good idea to record the album and then tour it.
You can use same tactics and same plans and tweak a little bit, but every artist you work with is coming into the relationship in a different place than any of the other artists you work with, and they all have different mentalities, they all have different ideas, so there is no like set way of doing it, you know, like I think you have to adapt to what they want, what their expectations are, what your expectations are, and kind of get a plan and get on the same page. There is no, this is the way we're going to do it, this is the way we've done it for everyone. That doesn't work in this industry.
Ultimately, I think it starts with dialing in on the social media. Like I was saying earlier, like, the grassroots marketing is super important. The independent, record labels and directly connecting with fans. So, right now we're trying to like update his website, make sure he's all dialed in on all the social media networks. We're having you guys help with that. And also just kind of make connections with him. He's kind of multifaceted. And, he has the blues, but he also has the reggae and the folk. So, just trying to make connections with other artists that might be interested. I mean, like he was telling a story about how he just like was really persistent with Michael Fonte and backstage just asking like, "What can I show you my music?" So I think make a connection with other artists and social media.
So has there been any like major steps that you've taken that you've noticed like really just exponentially launched someone?
I mean, I think, like, for instance, with Slightly Super, their latest album, Top of the World, giving them a lot of attention.
Debuted number 13.
13 on the Billboard Top 200, yeah.
That's huge.
And, yeah, I mean, it's still getting a lot of radio attention, and yeah, this tour has been the most successful out of any of the tours that they've gone on. I don't know whether to attribute that to the album or to the fact that they're touring with Atmosphere, who's also pretty huge in like the underground pop scene. And Slightly Super kind of crosses over sometimes into the pop world too. So I think there's multiple factors, but yeah, I think that latest album I've just seen a lot of success.
Well, I think the intern program helped a lot. Like they said that it wasn't like this, before maybe a year or two ago. Like it's built up. So now you have like a bunch of people working for the people who are working for the band. So it's kind of good to have like little minions running around doing all the work that keeps a good flow of things.
My favorite thing is just whenever a band gets it and they start to see the impact and see what, like, a lot of times they'll question, like, okay, why am I doing this? Like, what is this really accomplishing? But, with in today's online world, there's data and there's information to back up everything you're doing, so you can see the impact of one picture or one tweet, or you can see how when they go on tour, and all their social media goes up, all their YouTube plays go up, all their sales go up, all their sound just plays across the board and interaction and engagements across the board.
I'll just give you the most recent example because it's the freshest on my mind. We signed Ethan Tucker, and he's a developmental artist. I mean, hasn't really released anything, hasn't really toured much. But we've known him, just a friend of ours hipped us to him. He saw him in a bar in Twin Falls, Idaho. But as we started listening to his music and hearing about him from other people, in the music industry, and then Michael Fronte actually, on the record he just released this last week, had Ethan wrote 2 songs on that record, and then that parlay, you got to deal with Capitol Records, So that was one thing where it's like, okay, you might not have a huge YouTube video, you might not have a lot of people signed up to social networks, you might not be touring that much, but he played a show with Slightly Stupid, they loved him. I've been hearing about it from other people in the music industry that have just come across him, and then Michael Fronte had him write 2 songs on his record, and Capitol Records signed him, so just at that point it was like time to take that step.
How do you find the medium between your strategy?
When we show them like Instagram or Vine, they've really taken to. Like, we pretty much don't touch their Vine, it's all them.
Oh, okay.
I think it's just important to kind of show them how the social media works and show them how it directly affects their fans. Like pull up a hashtag, see all of the fans that are hashtagging Slightly Stupid, and I think showing them that connection, that how much closer it brings them to their fans, is important too. Showing them the importance of utilizing it.
So,
I think you have to be able to know that not all ideas are great ideas, they're just ideas. And sometimes they need time to grow, sometimes the person that you're telling the idea to needs time to learn how to accept it, and so I think on that level, it's never taking anything personally, understanding that we're here doing work and it's business, and just because it's an idea out of the million you'll have in your career and it gets shot down doesn't mean you stop having ideas.
And every artist is different, and every artist has different goals, they have different ways they want to be portrayed, and different, ways they would like to have success. So you really sit down with artists and see what their goals are, and then kind of map out a plan from there. I mean, there's definitely some things that you do for every band, but as far as what direction you're going to take it, I think you really sit down with your artist and kind of map out a plan around what their goals are.
if you're looking for funding for a band, where would you go to help them find more funding or anything like that?
It's a good question.
Small business loan?
Yeah, it's $1 million question, right?
Yeah.
I know a lot of bands have done like Kickstarters and stuff like that, but I mean, I think ultimately, like I was saying, like playing shows is what makes you money, and if you have to take some shows that pay you dirt or even don't pay you at all, just building up that repertoire is eventually going to get you more money, I think. I've seen it with some of these of my friends' bands that have gone from playing in local coffee shops to, you know, making the step up and maybe getting paid to play like overseas or something like that. For me, from my perspective, is playing shows and just, you know, being honest with that.
Yeah. Selflessly promoting, kind of. Yeah.
Nowadays, you don't need as much money as you needed.
Yeah.
Back, you know, 10, 15 years ago, it's like you could record an album cheap, you can market an album cheap. You know, how do you find money? We kind of just reinvest our money into our company and into other projects. You know, it's like we kind of always just take a certain amount of money that we make every year and put it aside for future projects. We also have for our record label, have a deal with Sony, and they help us fund albums. I mean, I funded a slightly stupid record on a credit card that I got. I had a $10,000. I don't know. I was 21 years old and had a credit card that had $10,000. Back then, they're giving credit to anybody, but I did that, you know, and you know. But how do I don't know. I mean, how do you
Hustle.
hustle?
Yeah.
You know,
That's the name of the game. So what are some of the big lessons that you've learned?
Patience.
Patience.
And if it doesn't feel right, don't do it. You know, like persistence, but not being annoying.
Yeah.
Professionalism. And to me, like, you know, life is always teaching you lessons. So there's always something you're learning, no matter how long you've been doing something. You know, you learn something new every day about, and it can be simple, about approach, about contract, you know, like any aspect of the business. But for me, I think when you're first getting your feet into this, you know, like find a client that you really are passionate about, which should be all the time, whenever you're finding a client. But you know, if you're finding your first client, like find someone you really believe in and work as hard as you possibly can and be patient and learn and don't be afraid of making mistakes. I think people get wrapped up in the fear of doing something wrong, and you know, you learn more from doing something wrong than you do from doing things right.
Yeah.
And, so I think not being afraid to make mistakes is crucial. You're gonna make a lot. I think I make mistakes daily, you know, like, and then you learn how to recover from those mistakes and fix problems and learn how to use the team around you to help you fix problems. You know, I think that's the biggest asset of a manager, is learning how to really like use your agent and your business manager and your label to really help grow things. You know, I think that's actually probably one of the most important jobs as a manager. You know, like is getting your team to really work
Yeah,
together.
organization, like I found, you know, project management tools, there's plenty of them out there. There's, you know, I personally use Asana, people use Basecamp, people use like Action Method. There's a lot of different tracking and time and project management tools out there that can help with self-reporting, and you know, even like I have virtual assistants, and you know, I can also track their hours, invoice them out in that respect, and you know, it keeps everyone organized and they know what they have to do for the day.
What advice would you have for networking with some of these bigger wigs, you know, quote unquote, for like Capitol Records and stuff like that? You just kind of already know them, or is it inherent?
I've been now in the music. I'm 38 years old and been in the music industry since I was 18. So I know. I mean, you just get to know people over time.
Yeah.
But you just got to, as somebody starting out, and I remember when I first started out, you know, and Slightly Stupid was the first band I really kind of took on, and you just got to kind of, you know, at first you're kind of like, should I call this guy? Is he, is he going to answer my call? Is he this? You kind of just got to go into it like you have nothing to lose.
The easiest thing is email support, right? Like I said, hey, email support. And you got someone else's email. And you start talking to the front door at support at company.
So you're almost like cold calling or
yeah,
cold emailing.
Yeah, that'd be cold call. Yeah, cold calling, but in I guess not so much trying to sell stuff, trying to get them to sell you more of their stuff. I guess.
Yeah.
In some respect, but and that's just how it just unfolded. And then I was like, okay, well. And then they go from this company, and hey, I want you to know now I've left here, and now I'm working over company B, and then that's just how it really goes.
What's a typical day like for you if there's such thing as
At Silverback?
Yeah.
Well, I kind of divided up with managing the interns, you guys, helping making sure that you guys are learning and understanding everything that we're throwing at you, because obviously we throw a bunch at you at one time. Managing the street team, slightly stupid street team for sure. The thousands of people across the country that are doing that are saying what they're doing. Promoting shows via social media, helping any of our bands with like any graphic design stuff they need done, answering phones, cleaning some random shit, filing,
organizing.
Yep.
Organization, a lot of it. Just keeping things well organized, following up with things, making sure that you never forget one thing or one person.
Typical day. Wake up for my first alarm. Wake up for my second alarm, and then usually just sadly it's wake up and just emails start from bed. In your smartphone, going through those and reading the news, and then getting up, taking the dog out. It's very important to me. And then writing if I'm going to work in the office or if I'm going to work at my business partner's house. Meetings, and it's basically emails. Like the one thing that people think, oh, I'm going to work in the music industry. All it is just staring at a computer screen, email after email, spreadsheets, and just having multiple browsers open, multiple tabs open, and getting nothing done.
That's the other exciting thing about it, is you never really know what your day is going to bring when you're dealing in this world, because there's so many variables, like you have a band that's touring, which all of our bands tour, like that's their MO as independent artists, is they tour and to make a living, and so when artists are on the road, like there's a million variables that can go wrong at any point.
I don't really think I have a typical day, because one day I might be traveling or out at a show or doing something at a show. Another day I might be in the studio. Another day I might have 5 meetings and 10 conference calls. Another day I might be in the office doing marketing meetings with my staff, or it really depends on the day. There's not like I come to the office every day and there's just a set day for me. Every day is kind of different, but it really depends on what that day brings you.